So much of our media nowadays is hollow. I know what you're probably thinking. This is an AI problem. But I think really AI has just accelerated everything and cemented the fact that there's no going back. It feels like so little of our media, so little movies, TV shows, music, games, even books are ever trying to do anything revolutionary or groundbreaking or really even outperform one another anymore. There are obviously exceptions, as there probably always will be, but everything just feels so stale and safe, and in all forms of media, most of the good stuff is indie. So few of the blockbuster, AAA, big budget projects are willing to take risks, no matter how much money they have to lose. Everyone at every level of wealth is just trying to make the quickest buck. Money has been the root of all evil since the day the concept of currency entered human consciousness, and it just seems like today's society has rapidly forgotten that. In the 2020s, it's completely okay to just be a living embodiment of greed. It's become completely accepted and even normal to do the most degenerate, dumbest, or even straight up evil things, as long as you're getting the bag, right? Or even pretending that you're getting the bag. You don't even have to actually be making money. Do drugs on stream, Heil Bitchler, run someone over. Who fucking cares? No one, because you're making money. Where the fuck is all the self-respect? No wonder no one cares about anyone else anymore. No one cares about themselves. Is anyone even happy? Where are we headed as humanity? Tech optimism is completely dead. Everyone wants us to either take a different path or completely regress back to a more primitive point of technology. Well, except the techno wizards themselves. I think these brain-dead billionaires have just completely forgotten the actual point of technology and innovating, and it's supposed to be convenience. As humans, we create new things so that we can create newer things faster, but they're no longer humans. They're husks. Can you imagine having enough resources to genuinely go wherever you want, do whatever you want, with whoever you want, at any time you want, and it's still not enough? They still think they need more and they'll eventually be happy? Despite everything they have, they're less happy than you and I. Is that not pathetic? It's a waste of life. And they all just wish they had even a single real human connection. Or a normal penis. How are you supposed to stay creative in a dying world? And we're not dying of old age. We're being killed by techno wizards taking advantage of old men in diapers. What is it gonna take to recover from this? Is this just genuinely the end of media as we knew it? Like, think about this too. I don't know what it is, but there's very few classics now. Even the greatest, most critically acclaimed modern media, none of it's ever going to achieve such an established place in culture again. You know, it used to often be very surprising when you're talking about something that you kind of just thought everyone knew, and then the person has no idea what you're talking about. You know, you're like, wait, you never heard of Toy Story? Where have you been? Now it's like you just expect that with everything that you're into. You expect it that when you try to show someone a song that they've never heard it and probably never even heard of the artist. You kind of expect when you bring up the new movie you just saw in theaters to someone that they haven't heard of it, or at the very least like didn't know it came out yet. And they like definitely haven't seen it. Even the internet used to be a lot more contained in this way. You used to show someone a meme or a funny video, and there was a really good chance they'd already seen it. Now there's almost just no shot that someone's seen some random meme or heard of a content creator you like to watch. Like CurtisVHS. Who? If you like my videos, share with your friends, guys. Yeah, like and subscribe too. Okay. Now, I think the real reason all of this is happening is simply because there is no more cultural zeitgeist. This is something that's been talked about ad nauseum recently, the death of the monoculture. But it really is almost completely dead. And I just don't know what it's going to take to get that back, if we even can. Kids growing up today are never going to know what it's like to go to school and talk about the Fushi commercial or something that everyone saw the day before.
Fushi, like, I don't know what it is, but it's the coolest thing ever, and I can do it.
I guess that's a bad example because there's like the Nido things. So there are still things that break into everyone's feed, of course. But that's the thing, it has to break into your feed.
Defies the laws of groovy and cool. with a squishy square shape.
Everyone is watching their own personalized content, tailored to their own specific interests, and everyone even gets their own algorithmically produced advertising. All of the things we're nostalgic for, all this media, it used to be companies trying to outcompete each other for our attention. Now there's way less companies. They all have way more influence and power and control over what we see and do. It feels like we live in a time where users control what gets big just because most of the content is generated by users. But just a few giant companies own everything. We don't know how these algorithms work. We don't know when they're tweaking things for their own good. All of these conglomerate companies work together now. It used to be that they would work against each other for us and our benefit. Now they all work with each other against us. And of course, with techno wizards like Peter Thiel gaining more and more power by the day, what happens next? We have to preserve and study the past while we still can. Maybe you can do that by talking to someone for real. Take a step away from this increasingly fake online world. It's hard, and we live in a time where it's getting harder and harder every day. It's almost impossible for it to be permanent too, for you to just completely disconnect forever. But you have to start somewhere before it's too late. You need to own physical media that can't be revoked because a company just decided that's what they wanted. Buy old CDs and vinyls, or even cassettes or 8-tracks. Buy books, especially old books. Buy VHS tapes or DVDs or Blu-rays if that's how you prefer. But stop paying for subscription services that aren't even gonna have the show you were looking for anyway. Remember when streaming was the new cheap alternative to cable? Now, to get all the streaming, you need to pay more than cable packages were in the first place. You'll have a much deeper appreciation for the movies that you watch when you actually have them on your shelf. It becomes much easier to show it to people too, and makes for much more fun movie nights. I just love VHS tapes personally. It reminds me of being a kid, and I love the old ads that are stuffed into the beginning of them.
Coming soon to theaters.
What is it about ads becoming so nostalgic and interesting once you know the product isn't actually being advertised to you anymore? Buy a Polaroid camera or a digital camera and take some real pictures for yourself that aren't just immediately going to be uploaded into some AI training database. Take pictures and put them in a photo album or a scrapbook or a journal or whatever, with literally no plans of posting them or anyone really seeing them but you and maybe a couple of the people closest to you. Create art, whether that's drawing or painting or crafts or cooking, or if you're like me, write poetry, write stories, write books, write YouTube videos, or make music. I'm not that great at making music or anything, but when I'm making a song that sounds good to me, it literally feels like it's gonna change the world. And then I never even drop it, you know, other than in the background of these videos sometimes. Creating art doesn't have to change your life situation to change your life. Creativity is the keystone of humanity and culture, and it's what pushed us to do everything we've ever done. I'm convinced that if we collectively start trying to be creative again and care about the things we're creating and want to not just show them to the world, but like change the world with them, we can do it. When you boot up TikTok and start doom scrolling, your brain may as well turn off until your phone does. Creativity can't be forced, but it has to be exercised. You could have a 2-hour doom scrolling session, and 2 seconds after the app is off, you're not gonna remember a single thing you just saw. But if instead during that same 2 hours you watched a movie or read a couple chapters of a book or listened to an album, you'll likely be involuntarily thinking about that hours, maybe even days later. But again, here's the problem with this, circling all the way back. Internet brain rot is kind of bleeding into all other media. Movies are made specifically to be watched while using your phone. Music is made to sound good in the background of any environment, no matter where you are. Even some books are made more so with the audiobook in mind nowadays. And the internet has kind of blended everyone's tastes together so that like everything is derivative of everything. everything is nostalgic towards something. I feel like it probably always felt like music was at its creative limit, and then some new crazy sounds would bubble up and change the game, right? I just don't feel like that happens anymore. I hope I'm wrong about this. I feel like even the most fresh sounding new music sounds like just a different rendition of something, or just a more modern version of something. The most innovative new games are usually about combining genres and mechanics, or just about the biggest scope and scale, and not really about trying to do things that have never been seen in games before. I guess to an extent, I'm worried about the future of art. Wow, that sounds dramatic and pretentious. But I kind of am. I also just realized for the first time during this video that this probably really just sounds like mid-20s guy starting to get older and realizing nothing hits like it did when I was a kid. I'm sure that is the case to some extent. Honestly, I hope that's all it is. But I don't know. When media older than me, that I have never heard of and have no expectations for, hits harder and sometimes even seems fresher than new stuff coming out that I'm excited about, like something's got to be wrong there, right? Please give me examples to prove me wrong. I want to be wrong about this. I think an exception to this rule a little bit are horror films, which are probably on average right now the best they've ever been. And then on the other hand, though, comedy movies are just completely dead in the water. I think everyone kind of knows that too. It's been this way for years, but seriously, where are the comedy movies? It's like because every movie in our post-Avengers world has to have so many funny moments anyway, that there's no more movies trying to only be funny anymore. Stuff like Ferris Bueller, Tropic Thunder, Harold and Kumar, Tommy Boy. You know, there's no more movies where the whole point is to make you laugh. They all just kind of stopped existing around like the halfway point of last decade. All I can even think of comedy-wise for this entire decade that we're like over halfway through, by the way, is like Borat and the new Naked Gun. Well, that was pretty good. But that's a remake, and Borat's a sequel. There's also like the new Scary Movie, another remake. I think comedy seems like it should be the genre that is least reliant on franchises or nostalgia bait. Just look up for yourself the best comedy movies of the 2020s. There's nothing here. Almost none of this is going to be remembered in the future or talked about in even close to the same breath as the movies I just mentioned or tons of other comedy classics we all know and love. I want to talk about books just a little bit too, because there's definitely got to be more slop books than ever with AI and everything, right? But I don't think I've read a book that was published this decade, so I'd be talking just completely out of my ass. But I'm sure it's the same thing still, right? There's no way there's as many classics coming out as there used to be. You give me the best goddamn book written this decade and it just wouldn't be as good as the best stuff from the 80s, 90s. Again, I'd love to be proven wrong. Just don't try to prove me wrong with Dungeon Crawler Carl or something, please. It's gonna take a long time and a lot of work to get out of this cultural slump, but I don't think it's impossible. I just think as a culture, we need to become more mindful of what we're consuming. I guess that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a long time since I made a video, way too long. And I have a lot more familiar content coming soon. There's some stuff I'm really excited about. I finally have time. Let me know how you guys feel about this, because I don't know, I don't